Hi, and welcome to this Facebook Live, which is all about the inner critic. And I really wanted to talk about the critic because it's something very close to home. I really had an experience of the inner critic in my life and just how debilitating shame can be, how it can be not to find my confidence and be stuck from doing what I actually want to do. And there's actually some really simple keys that bring a lot of freedom from this pattern. So my intention is to share one of those keys in each one of these lives, and there'll be a series following from this. So the key for today is all about awareness. So I'll talk more about that at the end. And most of us don't have much awareness of this pattern, or maybe you have some sense of being self-critical, but often it takes an inquiry to really realize the depths of how often we're being self-critical. So the inner critic, it's this part of our psyche. It's a part that everybody has within them, and it's kind of like if you've ever known anyone who's been in a toxic relationship with someone, so they've been in a relationship with someone who is really not treating them kindly, that's kind of what most of us are doing with ourselves most of the time. So I'm not necessarily saying that the critic is bad. It's something that develops naturally in all humans. Often when we're very, very young, we learn what gets us love from our parents and what doesn't. And the critic is this kind of intelligence within our psyche that comes in to judge ourselves, to make us do the right behavior so that we get more love from our parents. Makes complete sense why it's there. But as we grow up and we're old enough to make our decisions, this kind of toxic relationship with ourselves, this self-judgment, can be really damaging. So the first key today is all about awareness. And the question, the inquiry that I'm bringing to reflect on is, what do you imagine people around you are thinking or judging about you? So it may be just for your life in general, or it may be when you're doing one particular thing where you're kind of seen. What do you imagine the people around you are thinking and judging about you? And there might be particular key people who kind of stand out, that you're bothered about what they think. And there might be people that you're pretty sure that they have those judgments. So include those as well. It's really important that they're included. And my invitation is, and I actually suggest getting pen and paper and writing this down, because often what happens is, to begin with, you come across the kind of more obvious ones. And then when you give it time and you start thinking about everyone, what do you imagine people are thinking and judging about you? So it's like the whole of society. What might they think? When you give it some time and kind of feel into it a bit, you can get to the more subtle levels of the critic. And my experience has certainly been that there's the kind of obvious times when we really go into a critic attack, and then there's the more subtle levels of judgment that are kind of hanging out in the background. So this is about taking back the imaginings that we project out, that we imagine onto the world around us. And for sure there may be some people who've got some judgments, but inquiring into what we imagine gives us a kind of insight. It gives us a window into our own internal judgments, what our critic is concerned about, what our critic judges us for. And there can be different flavors to this. Everyone has a slightly different critic that picks on them for different things. It may be the way you look, the way you perform. The invitation is to be curious and see what you discover there. And this has, doing this internal work can have a really strong effect on the world around. So much of what we experience in the world is a projection. And for me, doing the internal work, actually working with the inner layers of judgment and the way that I relate, has had a profound effect on both the people I experience in the world, but also how the world feels around me, like whether it feels safe or not. So yeah, it can be a really profound process to do this. So I hope you have fun with that first step, that inquiry. And of course there'll be the next step to it in the next video. That just kind of gives you the first glimpse, and then we'll work with it in more detail. So yeah, I'll put a link under this to when the next live will be.